Harley Quinn and Joker took the money and decided to have some fun on one of the beautiful nights. But their fun came to an end as they were ambushed. At the same time, something unknown happened in the laboratory. Scientists managed to open a portal to a new world. For the exploration of the new world and generally the foundation of strongholds, it was decided to form a squad of prisoners with many life sentences who will have to do the dirty work. 5 prisoners find themselves in a helicopter in the new world heading to an unknown destination. They are quickly explained their task and warned that each has an explosive device sewn into their necks that will detonate if they disobey orders. The military officer did not have time to free their hands, as the helicopter was shot down, causing them to make an emergency landing. Thankfully, only the military died, and our squad remained unharmed. When the ogres come closer and are about to kill the prisoners, they realize that it's not all a game and that they are in danger. A fight starts during which we find out who is in the suicide squad. The local people arrive and imprison the prisoners until they figure out what to do with them. At the same time, the queen returns to the kingdom and calls a council to discuss the consequences of the battle between ogres and humans. The fate of the foreigners is also discussed, but it seems that the queen does not care about them. She is only interested in the strategy of the war with the ogres. They have less than 60 hours to get back to the ship, otherwise their heads will explode. Dinner comes, and they are escorted to the mess hall, where all the ogres are besides them. There they have a fight in which Harley defeats the ogres, but the guards come and throw everyone into the punishment cell, even the poor shark who stayed in the cell and slept sweetly. In the punishment cell they meet a man who knows Japanese. It turns out to be one of the agents of the organization that formed the Suicide Squad. They're not the first group to be sent here. This man was the head of the team tasked with making first contact with the local people. Since their plane has become very pancake-like, in order to update the timer on the bomb around their neck, they agree to get out of the prison and the guy will show them the way to the gate where they can update the timer. The shark wakes up, and he's very hungry, so the iron grate isn't much of a barrier to food. They organize a mass escape from the prison. This time the magic of the guards can't stop the squad. After the victory everyone celebrates by drinking alcohol, but the soldiers are approaching the castle, and when they come to the gate, our squad appears in front of them. The knight that once saved the kingdom from the ogres is perplexed by what the 5 have arranged, and they in turn laugh at his baldness, forcing the knight to draw his sword. It goes to the fight, but the guy from the punishment cell comes in time and wants to make contact to get to the gate safely. After gaining knowledge from the local ogres, their communication is not going smoothly, to put it mildly. They are brought to the castle to the queen herself, who comes and puts a spell on them that allows them to understand each other. The guy talks to the queen, and from this conversation it becomes clear that the monsters against which they are fighting have become stronger because the group that was before our squad became uncontrollable and decided to join the monsters and fight for them. The guy is taken hostage as a guarantee that the squad will fight on the side of the humans. They are given uniforms from the helicopter, and now they are so beautiful ready to fight the monsters. They are sent to help siege the castle. The monsters fight bravely, and sparing no effort. Harley immediately realizes that the monsters are being controlled by someone, as otherwise they wouldn't be able to bear such pain. They sneak into the castle with the help of Clayface powers, and send a few monsters that guard the perimeter of the castle to a better world, and then come to the head of these monsters Deadshot's old friend. We are shown how close they are, and how much Deadshot helped Ratcatcher to survive in prison. Upon seeing his old friend, Ratcatcher can't contain his joy and orders his monsters to destroy the squad. Clayface uses his abilities again and sends the monsters to the floor below, and Peacemaker almost gets Ratcatcher, but only Katana comes to his aid and saves his partner from death at the last moment. The castle cannot withstand such a party, and one of the towers decides to lie down, This upsets the knight as his plan was to take the castle unharmed. Next they prepare to repel an attack by the Ratcatcher and his army of werewolves. The ogres from the prison come to their aid, happy to see Harley, and ready to follow her orders to get a pardon. During the night, an army of controlled werewolves approaches the allied fortifications, and with a numerical advantage, they boldly advance. The ogres lure out the Ratcatcher to command the werewolves to attack with his wand. At the same time, Dead Shot hits the wand, thus breaking the spell on the werewolves. They then surrender without a fight. Having done their job, the squad runs to the portal with the hope that the bombs in their necks will pick up the signal and reset the timer for the explosion. Fortunately, the signal from the other side appears, and our team has 72 hours before the explosion. Some time passes. The squad takes more and more lands of the Empire, smashing the monsters one by one. Expectedly, those members of the squad that use firearms run out of ammunition. The guy remembers that their helicopter landed on a flying island and that there could be supplies left there. Only it turns out that it is a nest of a dragon, which had time to lay its egg in the helicopter. After a small exercise with the dragon, they still manage to get to the plane, and the dragon, accepting defeat, leaves them. In the supplies, the guy finds a radio and contacts the headquarters where he is ordered to deal with the first squad with which he came to this world. When they returned to the castle, where the familiar ogres from the prison were staying, they saw that they were all killed by the elves. When they got closer, they realized that the elves were controlled by the members of the first squad. After a small skirmish, our squad was shamefully defeated, but they were saved by an enchantress who prevented the bullets from reaching their flesh. Because of the failure, they were put back in the dungeon, and the queen decided to execute them. The queen's daughter and the knight don't want to lose such strong allies, so the squad is secretly released from the dungeon and asked to fight the first squad again to show their ability to resist the Empire. One of the opponents can look into a person's mind. During the battle he did so, and found out that the squad needs to periodically visit the portal to reset the timer. So he builds a castle to prevent them from getting to the portal in time. After a long and careful planning, the squad manages to come up with a plan to get into the castle and defeat the villain who is there. They split into groups, one to distract the elves who were guarding the perimeter of the castle, and the other headed inside to defeat the Thinker. While Peacemaker is bullying the poor elf, making all the other elves run to the rescue and get killed, Harley manages to get into the castle and start a battle with the Thinker. Since he can read minds, he knows about Harley's strategy and prevents her from hitting him. But she uses a forbidden trick and stops thinking about attacks. Thus she manages to defeat the telepath. The castle is destroyed, and the squad manages to reset the timer on the bombs in time. Then, they return to the castle and think that for their work the queen will mercy them and not execute them for escaping from prison. But the queen has a different opinion. She is not happy at all for the fact that the squad managed to free the elves, and they went to the side of the kingdom. The servant of the queen hit Harley in the face, for which he immediately paid with his life and ended up in the womb of a shark. For this the queen ordered to execute the king shark, and the rest of them were banished from the kingdom. The queen's daughter wanted to talk to her mother to prevent the execution of a useful ally in this unequal war. But when she came to her, she saw that it was not the loving woman she knew, but one of the minions of the Empire. A coup begins in the castle. The people of the Empire come out of the shadows and try to take over the castle with the locals. The queen's daughter adopts Harley's habits, takes her bat, and is ready to fight back against the invaders. The squad rushes in time, and now they are going to defeat the puppeteer and her army of undead that terrorizes innocent citizens. To help the puppeteer arrives the enchantress, who is not very eager to fight. Harley borrowed a magic stone in the castle, which helps her to defeat the enchantress, and as it turns out the Joker is also in this world, and this which has to do his bidding. Soon the Clayface brings the body of the enchantress, and she is joined soul and body together and goes to the side of the squad. Deadshot also brings delicious gifts that give everyone magical abilities and increase their strength. With new powers, they quickly deal with a huge army of undead that occupy the approach to the castle, and also help the princess with Harley to send the puppeteer in a long flight, thus avenging her mother and the people she killed for the sake of waging a war of attrition of the kingdom. Before the flight, the puppeteer sees the girl but calls her emperor and is angry that he betrayed her. At the end, we are shown that it is actually the Joker who can take the form of other members of the first squad, and not only them. This concludes the first season of the anime.